Yeah, welcome to the October 2nd Mimir community call. I think we should be live.
Should be live. Zihao, you want to post the link to the stream in the community Slack?
Do we have the link? I don't know where I can copy the link. Let's see. Oh, I have it. Okay, I got it. Let me post it. Do we have to go to the Google Hangouts just to let people know?
Hi there, everybody. I've gone into the Google Hangout and posted the YouTube live stream link there as a pin. So anybody that joins there should be able to see the link. I'll also post it in the community Slack in case anybody happens upon it there. So yeah, I think you're good to go ahead.
All right, Zihao, you want to present the
Let me share. Yes. Share my screen. Okay. I think we can get started, so people can just jump in whenever they see the link. Welcome everyone to the Grafana Mimir community call for September/October. We're very excited to try out this new format as streaming because we think it's probably gonna make your experience better. And feel free to share your feedback or your experience during or after the call. For today's call, we're gonna share more updates regarding the upcoming launch for Mimir 3. And also, we'll have Dimitar and Nick to share more updates regarding what we have done in the past 1 to 2 months. And this is the agenda for today. We'll go over some overview and also key changes at the very end. We'll do some Q&A. To get started, I think I'll hand this over to Dimitar to go over probably the overview for the changes. Go ahead, Dimitar.
Sure. Should I also share the slides?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 second. Thanks. So the Mimir 3 launch we're building a lot of changes in it. Some of them are breaking changes. I want to talk about maybe the most important bit we're shipping, which is the new architecture, the new ingest storage architecture. So previously, most of you would be familiar that we have the read and the write paths on the left here, and how if the ingesters are the component which is shared between the read and the write path, they receive incoming writes and they serve reads, they serve bronchial queries. In the new ingest storage architecture, we're decoupling the read and the write path by having Kafka in the middle. So it could be Kafka or anything Kafka compatible. In this case, distributors write to Kafka and ingestors consume from Kafka. So in this way, the write path is only the gateway Nginx and the distributor and the Kafka brokers. Ingestors are decoupled on the other side of Kafka. So if there's a write path outage, the read path can continue working, and vice versa. If ingesters fail, Mimir would still be able to continue accepting reads and writes. Writes, I'm sorry. This also changes the minimum replication factor. In the old architecture, it used to be 3. In the new architecture, you only need a replication factor of 2 in the ingesters and 2 in the Kafka brokers. Obviously, that's up to you, and it's trade-offs you need to make on whether to keep Kafka replication as 2 or not, but it's something that changes. The new architecture also contains a new component which is still experimental, called the block builder. So for now, ingesters still ship blocks to object storage after they consume metrics from Kafka. We're working on the block builder, which can consume again from Kafka, but takes care of deduplicating samples, or rather just doesn't upload blocks multiple times like ingestors do, and puts them in object store. It's still experimental, and we're still playing around with the architecture of the block builder and whether we don't need more coordination there. But yeah, so this is something which will be coming with the Mimir 3.0. This will be the default architecture. The old, or sort of classic and current architectures will remain in the code, but it will be and supported, but it will be deprecated in a future release. So perhaps Mimir 4.0 would have the classic architecture deprecated. We still don't have clear dates and plans for when the deprecation would happen, but like as a best practice, if you're setting up a new Mimir cluster, it's best to set it up with the new architecture. As for migration between the current architecture, so what we call classic, and the new ingest storage architecture, there's one easy way, which is to set up a new cluster, and there are multiple ways. So you can shut down the current Mimir cluster, have some downtime, and then set it up with the new architecture. The format in object storage is the same, so blocks will continue being served after the migration. The downside is that there is downtime with this migration, so the whole Mimir cluster would not be able to serve read or writes until we finish the migration, which may be minutes to realistically hours. There are multiple other ways. Like there's a much more involved migration with 0 downtime, which it's supported in our JSONnet, but it's not something trivial to pull off. So at this time, we're kind of not giving advice on that. You can also spin up maybe 2 clusters at the same time and migrate data between those, one with the new architecture, one with the classic. There will be more details on this in our docs. I think I've covered everything. So with 3.0, there will be also a lot of some other changes apart from ingest storage architecture, and Nick will say a few words about those.
Yeah. So we're taking the opportunity of doing a major version bump in Mimir and a major version bump in the Helm chart to do some backwards incompatible changes. These are backwards incompatibles. They're breaking changes, but we're hoping there won't be a lot of impact from them because they mostly are just codifying the way we've wanted people to run Mimir for forever, basically. I'm going to go through them a little bit, except for ingest storage, which Dimitar just covered. So the first one is requiring the query front end. If you are using Mimir through the Helm chart, this has been the default the entire time. It's technically possible to not use the query front end, which dates back to before Mimir even existed, back in Cortex, when you could just courier directly. That will be going away because it dramatically simplifies the code path and allows us to do a lot of cleanup. But we don't expect that to affect anyone using Mimir. Another backwards incompatible change requires the query scheduler component. There was a way to have a queue of queries embedded within the front end. This didn't have great scalability and made the made operations a little more complicated than they need to be. So now we are requiring the query scheduler component. If you're using the Helm chart, this is already the default. I think it may have been the default the entire time, but it's definitely been the default the last several releases. So that should be pretty minor. Another cool thing is that we're defaulting to the Mimir query engine, which is our streaming query engine, as opposed to the Prometheus query engine. The couriers already use the Mimir query engine by default, and now the query front end will be using it by default. This unlocks a lot of future optimizations for us. Prometheus engine will still be a possibility. If you hit a bug in the Mimir query engine, it'll be possible to switch back to the Prometheus engine. But Mimir query engine will be the default going forward and will be where we put a lot of optimization efforts. Ingest storage, Dimitar covered. Read-write mode is going away. This was an experiment that we introduced about 2 years ago, I think. It was an effort to make Mimir easier to run instead of having distributors, ingesters, couriers, query front end, store gateways, etc. We had 3 components: read, write, and back end. We ran a few of our production environments in this mode. It was shipped, and it was an experiment, and it didn't get a lot of effort, a lot of work put into it after the fact. So it just kind of became this odd duck. And in the meantime, we introduced the Helm chart and started recommending that that's how people deploy Mimir. And so that's how we recommend people deploy Mimir and get an easier experience running Mimir these days. Some of the lessons learned from read-write mode might end up getting integrated back into Mimir, but for now it's being removed. It's an experiment, and it's an experiment, but it's not going to be the way we run Mimir or recommend people run Mimir going forward. All right. Next slide. That's all I got for here. Q&A. All right, moderator Matt.
Yeah, I can probably. Okay, Matt is here.
I'm excited to see what questions folks have for you in the chat. So far, we have some thumbs up emoji, which is great. Like to see that.
If
No
you have
questions.
questions, feel free to post it there.
While we wait for that, we have a couple of questions that we could address. Some questions that we thought maybe folks might be interested in knowing about. So I think you already addressed this one. Do you have to use ingest storage with Mimir 3.0?
You do not have to use it. You can still use classic architecture. I believe there is a values file in the Helm chart that switches things back to classic architecture that you can use, but the default values file is ingest storage now. Yes, people are looking forward to the migration document. I think, Dimitar, the approach you mentioned where you spin up another Mimir cluster in parallel to your existing one is probably going to be the nice middle ground between downtime and complexity of a migration. The way we ended up doing it internally is there's a lot of steps. It's very labor intensive.
It's also easy to get wrong. So if you're aiming for zero downtime, it could be the double writing is probably a decent middle ground, which would be to spin up a whole second cluster running the new architecture, point both clusters to a single S3 bucket or a single object store bucket. Disable the compactor in one of the cells. Compactors assume they're the only ones running against the bucket, so they might interfere if you have two Mimir clusters running each their own compactor set. And then as data is aged out of the old ingesters after 13 hours by default, you can shut down the old cluster and only leave the new one running. This would require you set up your auto collectors or your Prometheus to send to two places to sort of remote write to endpoints. Yeah, it has an obvious cost implication for the duration of those 13 hours.
Thanks, Dimitar. That's a nice high level explanation of that, and I think that that may be one of the ones that we want to write down in the documentation to be a little bit more clear. And but we have not done that quite yet. There is another question here about: is there a way that we're able to start exploring the new architecture? We need to see how AutoMQ works in the new architecture. I'm not sure if we've done any exploration with AutoMQ.
We have not, but the new architecture, ingest storage, the code is in Mimir 217. It's just not enabled by default, and I think the corresponding version of the Helm chart, it's not enabled by default. But it's all there if you want to configure it and turn it on and start poking around.
Yeah, I think the configuration docs for it are already published if you look at 217. So you should be able to configure it. Maybe if you open the docs, we publish what we call next version of the docs, which is an unpublished version. That might have some details around what exactly we need out of Kafka, the Kafka protocol, and more details. They're still incomplete, but they will be by the 3.0 release.
There was another question that came in. Is there any intention to use Istio ambient mode instead of Nginx? We're talking about in the Helm chart.
Yeah, that's probably a question about ingress, right? Which I don't think so. We haven't explored Istio. So no, as far as I know.
There may be some benefit to post that as a question in the community Slack to follow up on that, to talk about the use case of that, or if anybody else in the community has had some experience with any kind of modifications to the Helm chart to use Istio. That might be good to further the conversation there. So another question is, are there any changes to the format of the data written to object storage? So if you migrate from 2.17 or 2.x to 3.x, could you migrate back?
Yes. Yes, the object storage format is the same. Depending on how you do the migration, there may be extra steps where you have to make sure that the ingesters upload all the metrics they've collected so far to object storage. But yeah, the format in object storage is still the same, Prometheus TSDB. That's not changing. Max asked the question, is this not also a problem in Mimir with high cardinality? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Can you clarify?
Wait to see if oh,
Oh,
I'm not sure I see it. I'm not sure I see the full question, Max, if you want to ask that one again. In the meantime, there was another question around queries falling back to the Prometheus engine from MQE. Curious about whether MQE can handle all the queries, some of the queries, 50% of the queries. How does that work in Grafana Cloud?
so right now, MQE can handle all Prometheus stable features. It is 100% compatible with everything that's not experimental. If there is a difference, that's a bug. There are a few like cosmetic differences, like the format of error messages looks a little different sometimes. But yeah, MQE can handle everything that's not experimental. There are a few experimental functions in Prometheus that haven't been implemented in Istio yet, or not Istio, MQE. Like I think Prometheus has an experimental info function that is not in MQE yet. So right now, when Mimir detects a query that MQE can't handle, it will automatically fall back to using the Prometheus engine. It might be the case in the future that that doesn't happen automatically. It might be the case in the future that it's just a setting on the querier which engine to use, and you have to pick that when they're starting up. But for now, yeah, it'll automatically switch to the Prometheus engine if it can't handle it. Okay, thank you for following up, Max.
Maybe this is a good question to get your thoughts. I think this is from Matt too. Regarding how to reduce the amount of hops and cross AZ traffic generated, do we have any recommendations?
So that was actually a major motivating factor for ingest storage was with the classic architecture, you have distributors writing to ingesters in 3 different zones. If those zones were in different cloud availability zones, then it was quite expensive. I think writing to Kafka, you don't incur those cross AZ costs. So the new architecture will help with that, but I think you have to, Dimitar, you might have done some work with this, but I think you have to explicitly configure multiple zones of distributors and have them.
Yeah, I think I'm not 100% sure how it works with Apache Kafka. I think there's some possibility that Apache Kafka will still have to replicate the data between the zones.
Right.
Yeah, we have experience with WarpStream, which stores data on object store, so the data doesn't cross availability zones. I think there may be other implementations that you can use, but to answer your question, you would need multiple distributor zones and perhaps multiple copies of the read path to like completely get rid of cross-zone hops. It's possible to set up multiple distributor zones in theory. It's not something that Helm chart supports. How the read path separation happens is still to be determined. We don't have a good we don't have a way of directing queries to like a preferred zone. For example, from queries to ingesters and from query frontends to queries and so on. Still TBD, but like it's something we're working on, something we want to solve.
Cool. Thanks for the answer. Does the community have more questions for Nick and Dimitar?
I don't know how much the lag is in the live stream when they would hear your question.
Yeah, I think I was checking the live stream too. I don't see more questions. So this is probably the thing we're seeing here is probably up to date. Okay. We can give you another minute. If there are no more questions, we can probably just end the live stream. And if there are more questions, we can always follow up offline. Yeah, let's just give you one more minute.
I have one more question. When do we roundabout expect Mimir 3.0 to be released?
I can probably chime in, and probably Nick and Dimitar feel free to join too. I think we plan to release it in about a month. So the community should expect to see at least the first version end of October or early November.
Matt has a question about auto-scaling queries. I'm almost 100% positive that queries can be auto-scaled in the Helm chart and in the JSONet. I think we auto-scale everything that's stateless by default. Dimitar, do you know?
I think everything stateless is auto-scaled. There should be a KEDA scaled object which then in turn creates an HPA. But yeah, it's not 100% complete. I think it's missing some docs, if I'm not mistaken. But it's basically the same query we're using internally. It's been working well. So you should be able to use it. Somewhere in the query block, query auto scaling. I'm not 100% sure right now.
Okay. If there are no questions, we can probably end the streaming. If you have more questions, feel free to post it directly in the Slack community channel, and we can probably follow up from there. And thanks again, Dimitar and Nick, and also Matt for joining the streaming, and really appreciate all the answers you have given to all the questions in the channel. And I think that's pretty much everything for today. And we'll probably have another one in a month or so. And look forward to seeing you guys next. Thanks, everyone, and see you soon.